Good morning, everybody. Another episode of the Keep Going podcast, athletes shining a light on mental health. Got a special one today. Anytime you get a sports psychologist on, I feel really good about what we're doing. David, good morning. Welcome to the podcast, brother.
That's a great introduction. I appreciate it.
Well, man, we appreciate you out here in the Midwest, and you've worked with a lot of athletes, so excited to go into that. Jackie, where are you coming out of?
Coming out of Plymouth today. This is my last episode here for a little bit. I'll be in New York next week, and then from there on out, I'll be in Maine until June. So probably my last car episode for a while.
Yeah, do you have a nice little, it's not goodbye, it's see you later for Plymouth? What do
Yes.
you got?
Yeah, no, exactly. It'll be a nice change of scenery. Get to live with my sister up in Maine, so I'm pumped.
No, I love it. And before we get into the episode today, we were talking about Alexa Connors before the episode started. Shout out to Alexa, came on the pod a couple weeks ago. Tough fight last night. Didn't get the result we wanted, but she handled it with class, and congratulations on a great career. David, obviously we worked with a lot of athletes, a lot of coaches, a lot of opportunities to, I don't know, talk to impactful people. Why did you want to come on the podcast today?
Well, I mean, anything to make change in someone's life, whether it's on a micro level, on a macro level. I mean, you guys have a great platform to to reach a lot more people than I could. Certainly, like, I feel like I can help people one at a time, but this will give me that opportunity to really, like I say, make more change, hopefully.
No, man. Well, you're definitely that guy for me. We've had several long conversations now about athlete identity and mental health in general and what you're seeing in the field. Let's just
Mhm.
start very remedial for our audience because my education is not what yours is. Talk
Sure.
about what mental health means to you and why you're in the profession.
Yeah, I mean, I guess as to like why I'm in the profession, I've always had a deep love for sports, growing up as a hockey player, competing, really into, competing at a high, well, not necessarily high level until high school, excuse me. Looking back, I just always found myself like playing in my head, worrying about like getting hit when I was playing hockey and just focusing too much on like what I couldn't control. And truthfully, in hindsight, it's like it was impressive that, considering none of that, not, controlling the uncontrollable really helped. All of it was so exhausting. And so the journey kind of led me to psychology, and sports psychology is where I feel like, I can continue to, not just harness my passion for sport, but also really just help others. I mean, truthfully, sports psychology is kind of what got me through grad school. Anytime there was an opportunity to do a paper or, in any class, it was like I always tried to find something related to that particular field.
No, I love that, man. And I can just tell the passion when you talk about this, like that you're really in this for the right reasons. Yeah, it's a job. You put food on the table, you have a family, all that good stuff, but you care about these people. You care about the athletes.
Mhm.
Something I want to dive into quickly is, was there a moment where you knew you wanted to do this? You mentioned grad school. What was like that? Oh, this is it for me, man.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually, and I will be very open about this, is I was actually working with a therapist at the time. I was confused. I wouldn't say confused, but I was like looking for something that I wanted to do, and my therapist actually recommended me to speak with a sports psychologist, on a not necessarily like on a professional level, but just more on a like colleague level, mentorship like level. And the more I started learning about it, the more I was just like, gosh, this is what I got to do. I mean, I've always wanted to be a helper, and I've always loved sports, and it seemed like a perfect fit. And that was that was when I was studying for my master's degree. And honestly, like I said, it's been what has really kept me going in, no pun intended. Uh,
Yes, sir. Love that. Thank you.
excuse me, is what's really kind of kept me going in the field and like wanting to grow more. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's in a nutshell.
No, I really appreciate that too, because there's a lot of young, impressionable minds that are listening today going, I don't know what I want to do. I want to stay in sports. Could this be the avenue for them? So I think that's
Mhm.
super important. Last thing, and I'll kind of move away from that here. In the
Sure.
mental health world right now, 2025, it's never been more prevalent. It's never been more focused on. People have
Mhm.
misconceptions and myths and things that go with it. We try to help out with those. When it
Mhm.
comes to mental health, what are people not understanding in this? Like, what is the outlier?
Great question. I'd say kind of the big thing is that people think there has to be something wrong to get help. I mean, and honestly, like you can go to see a sports psychologist, therapist, whatever. If you're just feeling slightly off or like truthfully, or if you have like something more severe, but honestly, I find like the best athletes are the ones and just people in general, the ones that seek out help, they help prevent things from getting worse. You don't have to be at your worst to go see a therapist, see a sports psychologist. The threshold like definitely does not need to be this idea that I'm, horrifically depressed, mentally ill, whatever it might be. I think that's kind of a big misconception, honestly, is like we need to kind of find a way to say, well, I can just go because, I'm struggling with, shooting from the free throw line and I just need some extra help trying to improve my anxiety there. It doesn't have to be something just, like I say, just for maybe lack of a better phrase, horrific for a reason to go seek help.
I love that call out. Go ahead, Jackie.
Yeah, and I think too, even just talking about it and trying to bring it into conversations, like Pat is somebody that I know who does this as well. I do this to my friends, and my coworker said to me a few months ago, like, you're one of the few people that I know that like openly talks about your anxiety. And I think it's because I want myself to be comfortable if I'm having an anxious day, and I want people around me to be comfortable too. Like, how are you feeling today? I'm like, I'm kind of anxious, and I think that people struggle with that too. Is sometimes people have a hard time just having a bad day or having an anxious day and just letting that be that. They think that because they're having a bad day that that's who they are and their thoughts are a reflection of who they are and they can't just sit with it. And it's funny
Mhm.
that you brought up the free throw line because if I had good mental health and knew how to deal with my mental health as an 18-year-old, I probably would have I if I could have if I had the tools, I probably would have been an overseas basketball player, but that just was not in the cards for me. Like I don't think that that's what was supposed to happen for me, and I was shooting free throws at the gym the other day. I've gotten into playing basketball a lot more. That was my sport, and I was at the free throw line and I made like 68 out of 70 free throws. Like I was just in a rhythm. And I stopped for a second and I'm like, wow, I don't know if I ever could have done this when I was actually playing the sport because my anxiety would be so bad. And I think it's because I now talk about it that I can do those things and I can be open with myself. There was like a 5 year gap or so where I was like, didn't address the fact that my mental health took a big part in why I stopped playing sports. And now I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, that was because of this. And I think it's because there are so many people like you out there that are willing to have these conversations and talk about it too. So I think, like you said, just understanding that you don't have to have something horrific to happen to you to just have the conversations and go to therapy. I think people just need to start generalizing that I might have an anxious day or might have a bad day, and it'll help them and help the people around them a lot too.
Yeah, I'd agree. And Dave, I want to stay there. We had a guest on last week, Lindsay Bolt, who said something that stuck with me all week. She said she never realized she was living at an 8 until she got into therapy. And that like stuck with me. Now she's remarried. She has a great career. She played soccer at Iowa. That stuck with me. Like, wow, people are really great, but you could be even better with a little bit of help. My wife obviously played high level Division 1 with Jackie's girlfriend and saw a sports psychologist there that changed her entire life.
Mhm.
When this is all said and done in this profession, Dave, what are you trying to accomplish? What do you want to be remembered for in this profession?
I think I think the biggest thing, and I'd say it's actually more of just kind of how I want to be remembered in life is just, did I leave this place better? Did I help, did this person leave my office and feel better about, whether it's their sport, whether it's in life, whether it's improving relationships with their spouse, with their kids. I really just want people to feel like if they come to see me that they feel like they're in a better place ultimately.
Yeah. No, I like that. And something that hits near and dear in this podcast is mental and physical injury. Jackie was out of basketball due to an injury. Some physical, some mental that went with it, which you just described. My brother played high level baseball. He had ulnar nerve surgery at his elbow. He was never the same. He went through a really dark time after that. And he's one of the most positive, happy guys I know, right? So, like, it mental health doesn't discriminate, my brother. It doesn't by any
Mhm.
means. Talk about the injury piece and what you see, and then I just elaborate on it. The floor is all yours.
I mean, by matter of circumstance, I mean, I've really just developed this strong passion for like understanding the psychology of injury because it's often the primary reason people will come into my office. And I think just beyond the challenges of adapting to like rehab, dealing with the physical pain, many athletes really face this like crisis of identity when it comes to an injury, especially if it's severe or if it's like really truly their first experience. And I mean, in a way, I mean, even as more non-athletes, they experience a crisis of identity at various points in their life. But I think for athletes, particularly those with those high aspirations of going to college, turning professional, so much of their time and energy is just really like invested into this one piece, this one identity, whether it's through practice, through film, competition, weightlifting, diet, sleep, time away from friends, time away from family. So, I mean, an injury just really just changes everything, and it requires such a huge adjustment. And, you know, being very honest, it's like it can be that first time that that athlete like confronts those real existential questions of like, who am I outside of sport? What do I value? What else can I do? And it's just it can be such a just a jarring experience.
Yeah, you were an athlete, David, so I think it's easy to. You were being super modest, man. High level is high level, man. Like you play high level hockey, whatever you play, right?
Mhm.
I would say this for the athletes out there that the argument is if I work as hard as I can in this has to be my identity. This has to be my
Sure.
thing. What would you say to those athletes?
That it has to be. I mean, I think right there, it's whenever they're using that like word of like I have to do this or I should do this, it's almost like creating an expectation that may or may not exist. It's like, well, who's to say like what you have to do, what you should do, and trying to kind of reframe it as like this is something you love to do and you've found that you are good at it. You have a passion for this. Like it can be really hard, an injury like slows that down so much. Like all of a sudden they're thinking about like, oh my God, it's like I have to do this. Well, what do I do? It's like, I think when you look at like how every athlete has that drive to compete, an injury forces them to really slow down, which it can be so foreign. And ultimately, it also kind of creates this like mind-body dissociation. The mind wants to push forward, but the body is saying, it's in tissue repair and it's like demanding rest and healing. So, your brain's like, we're fine, let's do this. And your body's like, well, that's adorable. I'm shutting everything down and you can sit quietly and think about what you've done.
Yeah. You know, this is a good conversation because Jackie and I can come on here and we can talk about our experiences and we can interview players and coaches that have gone through this. This is your life, man. Like this is
Yeah.
so fascinating. I'm getting caught listening a bunch during this podcast today, which I love. I
Mhm.
love to learn from people like yourself. Here's the last thing on the identity piece.
Mhm.
These Division One athletes, man, these professional athletes, these Olympians. You've had the
Mhm.
opportunity to work with them, kind of see what they do from afar and sometimes in close. What is the difference with the elite athlete compared to maybe the high school athlete in the mental health world?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing is just the drive to compete. And because I mean, I work with athletes all the way, as young as, you know, elementary school. And so the experience is just different. I think with working with, the higher you go, just the level of investment is just definitely so much higher. And seeing outside of it is really challenging. And I think when you're younger, like and I think especially if you are playing, like in elementary school or high school, there's still less sports specialization, but it's like once you get higher, it's kind of like that is your focus. Like that's what you're doing. And when you're trying to get them thinking outside of that, it can be so challenging because that's what they want to do. Like, this is it. Like, this is why I'm in college. This is what I'm supposed to do. And again, it's, the investment is there because of like, well, I'm good at it. This is what I want to do. I don't know really anything else. How do I get out of it? I mean, I think it's almost like I find them more stuck in it, but for good reason.
Yeah. I get that completely. And I think that's awesome for athletes listening today that want to, everybody, if I, ask my facility in Rockford who wants to play in college, every hand is going to go up. But we know the percentages are so low. This is such a cheat code when you have someone like yourself available to have these tougher conversations with and get through it. Speaking of getting through it, man, the preface of our podcast is that keep going moment.
Hmm.
We've talked a lot about your athletes, your early days experiences.
Sure.
Tell me something that you got through that the normal man wouldn't have got through. What's your keep going moment?
Oh gosh. I mean, I'd say there are several. I could list, for several reasons, but I'd say in terms of like my career, I guess that's probably the biggest one for me. This was like 2000, this is like right before COVID. So, I my postdoc fellowship was coming to an end, and the hospital I was affiliated with, they didn't want to keep me on. So at the same time, I was grappling with like challenges of like studying for my licensing exam, adjusting to a new environment after being in Minneapolis for 14 years, struggling to have kids with my wife. And I mean, I'm really, getting in there.
Thank you
And
for doing
finally
this.
coming
Yeah.
to terms with the fact that like I also had undiagnosed ADHD. And I mean, it was just one of those moments where just doubt consumed me. It was questioning, whether or not I was going to pass my exam. Um, become a psychologist, support my family, just let alone, and then just let alone build a family. And then there was this, I was also seeing, classmates and friends, thrive in their careers, and only just kind of fueling that insecurity. And, you know, I was just, it was just a time where, it was like, and so once like my job ended, it was just, and it was very abrupt. It was like, oh yeah, by the way, like you're done as of like next week. It's like, okay, like, and it wasn't expected. And so I'd called my dad, and my dad was just like he had this like just this encouragement. He said, he encouraged me not to kind of look at, to not look at this as like the end of the career, but like using this as like an opportunity to say like this is just, embrace this as the beginning of a new chapter. Don't let this be the definition. Don't let the end of this be the definition. And kind of inspired by those words, it's like I really tried to like just kind of take control of that narrative. And I, sought the guidance from a coach to help me with my test, in preparation, to really like just enhance my study skills. I underwent, an evaluation, got treated for ADHD, started seeing a therapist again. More importantly, I kind of just embraced this like age-old notion that it's like if I dedicated myself, put in the effort, and just was intentional with my time, I'd be able to achieve success. And, and just I've been so blessed to say that, I have two kids now, another one on the way. I passed my exam. I, found a different job, a better job that was actually suited for me. And, just with the aid of like an amazing supportive family, my wife specifically, I've been able to now say I have a career that, I look forward to doing it every single day. And I get to pick my own hours. I get to work with who I want to. And it's just, we grow up like thinking, we grow up hearing like, dreams really do come true if you put your mind to it. But, that's true. But I think it's just like misleading because, they mean, your dream is, your dream shows up slowly and it's kind of like, it's disguised as effort, frustration, and a lot of days where you're just like, I'm pretty sure like this is just a terrible idea. But you got to kind of be
Dang.
a little bit, you got to kind of be a little deluded if you want like things to work out, I guess.
We're cooking now, man. That was a fantastic keep going moment, man. And I love the point about it's disguised as the work in the setback in the trial and tribulation because everybody thinks it's just going to be sunshine and rainbows and the top of the mountain is always going to be the top of the mountain. Just a beautiful sentiment about your life and the
Mhm.
family man that you are. Kind of an odd one. We don't have David Mitchell with us, so we're not going to go to David Mitchell's mailbag, but I'm going to have Jackie lead this one. Go ahead, Jackie.
I got two questions here. First of all, that was a great keep going moment. Thank you for touching on all that. And there was one thing you said there that I wanted to ask you about. You talked about being
Sure.
intentional with your time. What does that look like for you to be very intentional with your time and how you go about your day?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a firm believer in balance, and I think that for me, a big part of balance is, being able to engage in self-care activities, like whether it's going to the gym, whether it's, really spending time with my kids, but it's being intentional about like my day and sticking to it. Like, for example, when I go to the gym, I only have 20 minutes, and in the past, there was just this part of me that was like, gosh, 20 minutes, like, is it even worth it? It's like, well, yeah, it's worth it if you kind of look at it from a longitudinal perspective. Like, it's 20 minutes, but you stack that over a month, you're looking at several hours at the gym. And I think it's you gotta really do things kind of like based on like what's going to work for you. And for me right now, it's like I got two kids, a full-time job, and I have to find, if I want to build in my exercise, it's like I got to either do it A, like during the workday, or B, during my kids' nap time. So it's about just knowing that, things aren't going to work out always as you expect. So you got to just kind of stick to your plan as best as you can.
I like that too. I like the idea of looking at it longevity wise. Like 20 minutes might not seem like a lot today, but a year from now, you could see results. And kind of similar aspect question here, because you're talking with people all day and you're the person that they're going to for help and assistance and guidance, what are you doing for yourself to make sure that you're always in a good headspace to
Mhm.
be that person for others?
100%. Yeah, good question. I always been, not, and I'm clearly biased, but I have my own personal mental health therapist that I've been seeing now for about 4 years. The other big thing is, I go to the gym every single week. I also try, weather permitting, I love to get up early, go for walks with my dogs. It's kind of like my time where, you know, there's nobody out walking. It's kind of a very zen-like moment. I try to prioritize that. I also have a, sports psychology mentor that I've been working with now for about 2 years. Shout out to Erin Ayala at Scotty Sports Psychology. She's been
Love
such a
it.
big help for me. She was the first one to actually like call me a sports psychologist, and I honestly I did not think that I like earned the stripes to do that. But she's like, you know what, you've done the work, you are passionate about it, and if anyone questions it, like just tell them to, you know, tell them to just, shove it in their face. I don't know. I don't want to be I don't want to be vulgar. So she said it a little bit, she said it a lot more eloquently than I would, but the idea was it's just like, don't let others define you. It's like if this is what you want to do and you're passionate about it, no one else should tell you.
Love that. David, I got one more for you. It's probably my favorite question that I've asked in a long time. I don't ask a lot of the questions at the end of
Mhm.
the episode usually, so I'm excited
Sure.
too. I'm a guy that works with a lot of families, man. In my full-time job and my part-time job, when I go out and speak, there's always families looking to not mess this process up in
Hmm.
recruiting, in whatever else.
Hmm.
If parents out there are listening and they have a student athlete struggling right now, what's their first step? What should they do?
Hmm. The biggest thing is supporting the person, like regardless of where they're at. To help a person, you have to meet them where they're at. And I think as far as like helping them get help, I mean, when I say you have to meet them where they're at, like they may not necessarily be ready to talk to a sports psychologist. They may just need to talk about like whatever's going on. And I think it's important for the parents to be okay to just accept whatever they're going to talk about and go from there. Because, when you're just coming in with an agenda, you're coming in, trying to fit, a circle peg into a square hole. It just is not going to work. You need to know where a person's at. You need to focus on the relationship. I mean, it's true for whenever anyone comes into my office, like I could have all the skills in the world to help them, but if they don't feel connected, if they don't feel heard, if they don't feel like I've invested time in that relationship and have met them where they're at, they're not going to stick with me. So that would be my best advice to them.
I love that. I think the credibility, the trust, we talk about the open door policy here. When they're ready to talk, they'll talk and they'll have those conversations. I think parents, and this is my perspective, I'm not licensed or anything, but my perspective is parents have to understand that they have to check their ego sometimes. They have to put their ego aside and be like, you know what? This might not be a mom and dad conversation. This might be a conversation with someone like David or an aunt or a friend, whoever at that time. I think the biggest thing when you see someone that's struggling and something that's odd, don't just let it go by the wayside. You don't have to come in, like David said, with that big time agenda, but a simple, hey, are you okay? Or, hey, what's going on here could open up something that you didn't even know was going on. So, David, it's so refreshing, man. Like I said, we have a lot of parents that listen, a lot of kids. Super impressionable episode today. I do want to give you the platform real quick. If we missed
Sure.
anything, go ahead, man. It's all you.
I mean, I think just if there's anything, I guess I'd want to communicate is, if there's this thought of like, man, this could be helpful for me, I'd say just do it. I mean, it's like we're feeling people. We all have emotions. As much as we like to believe, like we're very logical individuals. Like by design, we're not. We like to think we're thinking people who occasionally feel, when in actuality, we're very much feeling people who occasionally think. We thrive in relationships. I'd say the majority of us, and I mean, not everyone, I should say. I don't want to like to overgeneralize, but I think we're social beings. We need people, and if you're worried about like that whole process, of like what therapy is, what sports psychology is, truthfully, it's really no different than having a conversation. And it's about just getting out what's inside, because yes, medication is going to work. Yes, you know, talking with friends, that can be helpful as well. Working with a trained professional, it's about, working with somebody who can really hold those emotions and like help you get to where you want to be, whether it's professionally, emotionally, in your sport. It's not as, it doesn't have to be as scary as what people make it out to be.
Yeah, I love that, man. And just eliminating the stigma, making sure that it's a comfort area for these kids, for these young adults, these professional athletes. I think it's so crucial, man. So thank you for being that spark, being that person, being that light in a lot of these athletes' lives. And it's awesome to see. David, to kind of put a bow on this, man, where can athletes find you? Where can parents find you? I know there's going to be some impact made and some connections today.
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram. So the name of my practice is Midwest Peak Performance. You can reach me so you can just, it's on my Instagram. I know, you guys follow me and I follow you guys back. So you can find me that way. You can reach me by my website, which is midwestpeakperformance.org. There's my email there. Um, feel free to email me. It's just drderus@outlook.com. That is my personal email. But yeah, I mean, also, I have my private like clinical practice at so this name, believe it or not, is an actual last name. It's my in-laws' last name. But my professional email is david@elmergreen.com. It's, yes, an old man's first and last name in the name, in the last
Love
name,
that.
excuse me.
Yep.
And I do see a lot of I see a lot of athletes through that practice as well. I'm licensed in several states too, so if you do just have any questions, I'm more than happy to reach out. If professionally, if people have any questions, I definitely send them my way. Be happy to be a guide on your journey. If this is a profession you want to go on as well, it's very rewarding, and I do believe it's like if you're a sports fan, you want to make impact in people's life. This is a way of doing it.
Yeah, David, I'll say one more thing and I'll let Jackie send us home. I thank you, man. Like, thank you for your service every day, working with athletes that, you know what? We wouldn't have a podcast without people like you, man. So thank you for being educated, dominating the profession, and really taking care of people, man. It means more than you know. Jackie, go ahead, send us home.
Yeah, thank you, David. This was a great conversation. I think too, touching on the fact that, like you said, sometimes it's just a conversation, and meet people where they're at. I think it touches on too how Pat says, just always keep the door open for people. Maybe they're not ready to talk about it today, but maybe 6 months down the road, because you kept that door open, they'll sort of creep in and that conversation will take place. And this was great, very refreshing hearing you talk and speaking with you. And I'm excited to get this out today. I think, like Pat said, a lot of connections will be made and a lot of follow up, and we're excited to get this out.
Amen. Well, David, have a blessed Sunday. Thank you for taking time. A father, a professional, a molder of young men and women. David, this has been fantastic today, man. Thanks again for coming on.
Yeah. Thanks for pumping my tires, man. That's a heck of a way to go out.
Man, you've earned that from us, man. And we've had some of the best. If you are someone in the Midwest right now, you have questions, you want to get better, get from an 8 to a 10 plus, I got a guy for you, man. Keep going. Everybody have a great rest of your Sunday.